AFL skills training program, we will be applying the principles of motor control and learning to teach a novice how to perform an AFL handball and kick.
Movement skills can be classified one-dimensionally. Skill classification is based on the way that the movement is organised, the importance of the motor and cognitive elements, and the level of environmental predictability. Using these classifications, we have classified handball and kicking as an open motor skill, as it can be performed in an environment in an AFL match that is constantly changing and can be affected by exterior factors. We have classified it as a gross motor skill, as the movement involves the use of large muscle groups, and we have identified it as a discrete skill, as its duration is small and has a distinct beginning and end. Gentile's taxonomy is a two-dimensional way of classifying motor skills and is broken up two-dimensionally. Firstly, the environmental context focuses on the regulatory conditions and intertrial variability. Secondly, functions of action focuses on if the body is moving or not, and if the skill involves manipulating an object or not. Gentile's taxonomy is a helpful tool in assessing a student's problems in performing a skill and provides a coach with student evaluation as they can place their performance level on a scale. We have classified the skill as a 4B on Gentile's taxonomy during training, as it involves object manipulation but no body movement. When applied to real-life situation, we have rated it a 4D on Gentile's taxonomy, as it involves object manipulation and body transport while running. In our training program, we expect the novice learner to move from the cognitive stage of learning to the associative stage of learning within the 4 weeks.
We have broken down the skills of handballing and kicking into distinct phases. These phases will be developed separately throughout our training program and then implemented together in the final weeks. The AusKick coaching guide has described how to effectively perform a handball, shown from points 1 to 6. For our program, we have grouped these points into 3 simple point breakdown: the approach, the impact, and the follow-through. Repeated for a football kick, the coaching guide has broken down the main points of the kick. We have divided these into the approach, leg back swing, forward swing, contact, and follow-through.
Qualitative analysis is the analysis of human movement involving non-numeric descriptions, and is separated into 4 different phases. Quantitative analysis, however, is the analysis of movement involving the use of numbers. We have decided to use a rubric that assesses both quantitative and qualitative measures to assess the performance level of our novice. The participant will perform the skill 10 times repeatedly, and each time measures will be recorded. For handballing, we will rate the performance of the approach, impact, and follow-through of the handball from 1 to 5, with 1 being very poor to 5 being excellent. We will also count the amount of times that participant successfully catches the fist and bends the elbow. For kicking, the same qualitative measures will apply, but instead change the quantitative to the amount of times the kick hits the target and the amount of times the performer successfully releases one hand off the ball when they kick it. These measures will occur post-training and then after the 4-week training program to measure improvements.
If learning is successful, we will implement retention and transfer tests after the 4-week training program. Retention test is the persistence of performance over a period of no practice and measures the consistency and capability. It aims to assess if learning has been obtained in the same level it was obtained during the training program. A transfer test assesses how well a skill is executed when it is adapted to a situation other than the environment of the training program. We will complete a transfer test after 4-week training program by assessing how the performer executes the handball and kicking skill with a smaller ball or in the rain.
The program will run for 4 weeks, with each week having 3 times 45-minute sessions. The first 2 sessions will be learning the skill and its segments, and the third session of each week will be the performer practicing the skill in his or her own time and also undertaking general exercises to improve the skill. AFL coaching guides suggest that training programs should include general exercises that improve endurance, speed, agility, flexibility, and strength.
According to Marino and O'Donnell, high practice variability will increase motor learning. However, as we are teaching a novice, we want to run training sessions that are low contextual interference, such as block practice. With block practice, repetition is key, as repeating a single skill over and over again, variance is minimized. As the novice becomes more familiar with the skills, we can run training sessions that include high contextual interference and random practice. Random practice is more match-specific, as the learner will work on a number of skills in combination with each other, forcing the learner not to fall into a repetitive routine, which will in time increase retention. Part practice refers to breaking down a complex skill into distinct parts that can be practiced separately. We have used the attention approach to part practice as we directed the learner's attention to focus solely on one part of the skill at a time. For example, allowing the learner to practice the handball without the ball, making sure they catch with the fist. Whole practice is when the learner practices all the parts of a skill in the right order in one fluid motion. This will be used later in the stages of the program when the learner was confident enough in performing a whole handball and kick itself in one fluid movement, as these are large skills when performed correctly.
Each week, the performer will be undertaking drills that range from basic to intermediate. Basic drills are designed to allow the individual to learn and perform the skill in an environment where they do not have to consider outside elements, such as the opposition or movement, whereas in intermediate drills, the performer will be performing skills while moving and using a partner. Week 1. Introduction and Fundamentals.
We'll begin with a pre-test and introduction to the skill using demonstrations. We will use basic drills to teach the novice the fundamentals, such as how to hold the ball and get used to the action of kicking.
Demonstration is key in this stage of the training program as the novice is learning a new skill. Week 2. Approach and Impact. Week 2 drills are focused on the approach and impact, teaching the novice to step forward on the opposite leg and where to hit or kick the ball. Drills include practicing stepping forward and increasing flexibility by swinging the leg backwards and forwards, also kicking to themselves. Week 3. Follow through. Week 3 focuses on the follow through. The novice will learn how to follow through after a handball and the forward swing of the leg kick when kicking. Drills this week will include a partner to give the novice an aim and increase complexity. Week 4. Associative stage, whole practice and post-test. In week 4, the novice should advance to the associative stage of learning. In this week, the drills will be game-like. The novice will have to kick or handball while running and aim for targets as they would have to in a game situation. Please note that if the performer should only move to these drills if they have successfully passed the cognitive stage. If not, continue on with basic drills. We also implement demonstrations into the training program to allow the novice to see what is required of them. Demonstrations can be broken into two predominant phases: the cognitive mediation theory, which is Bandura's theory of modelling and social learning, focusing on a person observing somebody else performing the task and then storing that information into a memory code that forms the basic of a stored representation in memory; or the dynamic view of modelling, which is based on J.J. Gibson and focuses on the visual system is capable of directly perceiving the coordination of the observed movement pattern, and the information is then scaled accordingly to the observer's individual specification.
In the program, we will focus on extrinsic augmented feedback. This includes the coach providing the novice with information about the quality of their performance. This can be with knowledge of performance or knowledge of results. Feedback is pivotal to ensure the performer improves. In our training program, feedback will be provided in large amounts at the beginning of the program, but will gradually decrease as the weeks progress. This is to ensure the performer doesn't become dependent on feedback later on and allows them to identify errors themselves.
Verbal cues will also be used throughout our training program to prompt the performer to remember certain aspects of the skill. Cues must be brief, accurate and repeated, such as catch the fist and swing the arm like an elephant struck for handball, or finger and thumb near laces and point toes for kicking.
Learning is the application of skills and knowledge that were learned in one situation to another. There are 3 types of transfer that can be applied in our training program. Positive occurs when learning in one context improves performance in another context. For example, if the learner had previous experience playing rugby, although there is a need to alter these skills, the basic understanding is there. Negative, which is where another sport may confuse the novice when trying to learn the basic skills of AFL. For example, soccer and AFL, where the novice may want to continually kick the football off the ground instead of picking it up. 0, which is where there is no transfer of the skill from one sport to another, for example, CrossFit and AFL. To establish the learner's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which drives them to achieve their goals. To keep the learner interested, we tried to change up the drills as often as possible, especially in the last 2 weeks, as research from Rendell and colleagues shows organising learning into a more random structure can improve retention and transfer after the training has occurred, but not during.